all necessary for our lives, they do not construct the essence of who we are. Along with the body, we're also made up of intellect. This is the faculty and our ability of reasoning and understanding. Intellect encompasses our mind, our thoughts, your judgment, and your wisdom. Intellect makes us capable of judging between what is true or real and helps us to come up with solutions for problems that we face day to day. Next is going to be our ego. Our ego is a person's sense of self-esteem or self-importance. It is the ego's job to strike a good balance between our immediate desires and the moralistic part of our nature. The ego ensures that fulfilling the needs of these two components, which are majority of the time competing against each other, they conform to the demands of our reality. So we've talked about the body, we've talked about intellect, we've talked about ego, and the fourth part is now our soul or our spirit. And this part of us refers to the inward man, the inner part of us, that part of us that according to Genesis 1 verses 26 and 27 says that it was fashioned in the very image of God. This lets us know that there is no you, there is no me outside from God. And if discovering the you that's locked within is the ultimate goal, then we cannot begin to unveil the makings of our own personal inner being until we first get to know our own personal creator and savior. And Psalms 139 helps us to do just that. This psalm was penned by King David, the one known to us as a man after God's own heart. And although scholars would suggest they're not sure where David was currently when he wrote this particular Psalms or the conditions he may have been under at this time, we do uncover by simply reading this text the fact that David had developed a distinct perception of God based on his previous experiences. He gives us a very clear depiction of three powerful characteristics of our multifaceted God. And I'll quickly go over these. Number one, David shows us that God is omniscient. He is, say omniscient. Yes, God is omniscient. He is all-knowing, and he knows everything about us. If your Bibles are still open, very quickly, verses 1 through 6, David says, God, investigate my life. Get all the facts firsthand. I'm an open book to you. Even from a distance, you know what I'm thinking. You know when I leave and when I get back. I'm never out of your sight. You know everything I'm going to say before I start my first sentence. You look behind, or I look behind, and you're there. Then ahead, and you're there too. Your reassuring presence coming and going. This is too much, David says. Too wonderful. I can't take it all in. In these verses, David is pointing out the fact that God is an all-knowing God. He knows when we sit down and we rise up. He discerns every thought in our minds and the intent of our heart. There is nothing that's hidden from him, even down to the very thing that we will say before we say it, or the places we will go before we actually know. There is nothing that we can hide from our God. He's just that in tune to who we are. He is the one that knows all things. He is the one that knows the good, the bad, and the ugly. He is the knows the mistakes that you will make before you even make them. He is the one who knows your weaknesses before you even know. Somebody say omniscient. Not only is David pointing out the characteristic of God's omniscience, David also explains that God is omnipresent. Omnipresent. He is everywhere. There is nowhere that we can go that God is not there, and God is always with us. Verses 7 through 12 says, is there any place I can avoid your spirit? This is David talking to God. To be out of your sight. you're there. If I go underground, you're there. If I flew on morning's wings to the far western horizon, you'd find me in a minute because you're already there waiting. Then I said to myself, oh, he even sees me in the dark. At night, I'm immersed in his light. It is a fact that darkness is not light to you. Night and day, darkness and light, they're all the same to you. David is explaining, no matter where I go, whether I go to the depths of the earth, to the bottom of the ocean, whether I climb the highest mountain or find myself in the deepest valley, there is no place far enough for me to go that when I turn around, you won't be there, where I can hide from the presence of God. He is an omnipresent God. He is always present. He is always there. If I find myself in the courthouse, he's there. If I find myself in the crack house, he's there. If I find myself in a hospital bed, he is there. There is no place that you can go that our God is not there. He is an omnipresent God. There is no trouble that you find yourself in that God is not already there waiting for you. And lastly, David explains about our God. He is omniscient. He knows all things. He is omnipresent. He is everywhere. And God is our creator. He made you. He structured you. He put his hands together to make you the person, the being that he called you to be. Verses 13 through 16. Oh yes, you shaped me first inside, then out. You formed me in my mother's womb. I thank you, oh high God. You are breathtaking, body and soul. I am marvelously made. Somebody say, I'm marvelously made. I worship in adoration. What a creation. You know me inside and out. You know every bone in my body. You know exactly how I was made, bit by bit, how I was sculpted from nothing into something. Like an open book, you watched me grow from conception to birth. All the stages of my life were spread out before you. The days of my life all prepared before I'd even lived one day. Here David describes God actually knitting us together in our mother's womb. How God created and formed everything about us. I want you to take that in. How God of all things, God, creator of all earth, God, creator of the sun, the light, the night, the moon and the stars, God, the creator of the wind, took the time, loved us so much that he put his hands on us in our mother's womb and pieced together DNA strand by DNA strand and put us together until we became exactly who he predestined us to be. David expresses this in complete awe of God. Think about your talents, your gifts, your desires, your passions. God placed those there. The things you think about, the things you dream about, the things you love, the things you want to do. God placed that there. He made you that. He gave you that talent of writing. He gave you that love for poetry. And he gave it to you for a purpose. It is part of who he created you to be. And there is a divine purpose behind who he created you to be. So that same God, the same God that David is talking about, the same God that David is loving on and reverencing and adoring, the same God that was everywhere that David was and knew everything about him and took his actual hands and formed him in his mother womb. This is the same God that loves us, the same God that created us, the same God that knows everything about us, the same God that's everywhere that we go. This is the God to unveil the real you. Who knows you like your Creator knows you? There are so many people out here that are so passionate all of a sudden about purpose and who they are and why they were created, and yet fewer and fewer people every day are passionate about the God that put us here, the God that created us. People are not grasping the fact that there is no discovery of purpose. There is no realization of who you are and what it is you're to do outside of relationship and discovery of our God. There is no discovery of self unless revealed to us by God. He is the one that created us. He is the one that shaped us. He is the one that knows the ins and outs of us. He tells God, explore me, probe me, look at me, put a mirror up, let me see, allow me to see what you see in me, allow me to see the good, the bad, and the ugly, allow me to see where the areas have been perfected and where there still needs to be work. Question me, interrogate me, put me to the test, put me in the fire, God, because I want to be a perfect vessel used for your purpose, used for your will, used to bring you glory in the earth. This is where David was. My mother's womb, I need you to show me my heart, God. Show me the life that you have for me to live. And tonight, this needs to be a prayer that we pray to God. Tonight, God is looking for a people, for a women that are saying, God, show me. God, reveal to me the bad. Reveal to me the weaknesses. Reveal to me the areas that still need work. Reveal to me what I need to work on. Reveal to me, God, who I really am. Show me my intentions. Show me my motives. Show me my heart. You know me better than anybody else. And I trust you and I surrender to what your will is for my life. God is looking for us to turn back to him. When we unlock the person inside, we are unlocking the person that God truly created us to be. Went right back to the foundation. It was like David. He went right back to the beginning of this prayer. Investigate me, oh God. God, I know that I belong to you. God, I know there's a work for me to do in you. God, I know you've laid a power within me that you want me to do a work in this earth. Have your way. you to say, have your way, God. Let your will be done. Replace my desires with your desires. Replace my will with your will. David was in awe of God. He knew that you are the only one that has the power to get me to unveil the real you. One more principle and I'll be out of your way. The second thing that David says is, if you want to unlock the me that's inside, your ultimate desire must be everlasting life. The ultimate reason, the purpose of this prayer, asking God to expose who David really was, asking him to reveal reveal his intentions, reveal his motives, his actions. Probe me, God. Show me the good and the evil. Question me, interrogate me. The reason, the purpose of this prayer was so that he would live a life on earth that would lead him to everlasting life with the Father. In the earth. And then he says, and put me on the path of everlasting life. Don't just show me what's wrong, but God, show me the right path. Show me the path that I should be on. Show me a path that would bring you glory in the earth, so I can be led to a life with you, a life everlasting with the Father. David ended this beautiful psalm by declaring his desired destination. His heart's desire was to please God. His heart's desire was to live a life that would get him back to the Father, that would get him to everlasting life. He prayed that God would lead him on the way of holiness. David trusted that God knew. He had complete knowledge. He was constantly present. His hand was constantly on David's life, and he knew that he was the one that could lead him. Looking for a heart that wants to please him. He's looking for a person that will pray to him and say, Lord, show me me, show me me, and then show me how to correct and help to guide me on a life, on a path that will lead me to everlasting life with you. God is looking for that person Is there anyone that will pray that prayer with me on tonight? God, show me me. God, unveil the true me. Because my desire is to live a life that will lead me to everlasting life with you. We don't want to follow our ego. Our ego tells us to satisfy the immediate desire. The immediate desire. To be happy here. To do what you want here. With no thoughts of the consequences of later on. With no thoughts of the consequences of heaven or hell. Heaven and hell are real. And if we're not careful, it will start here. Living a life without God is hell on earth. Who wouldn't serve a God that's everywhere? Who wouldn't serve a God that knows all things? He knows the good, the bad, and the ugly, and he still chooses you. He still placed purpose on the inside of you. He still areas where I'm weak, the areas where I don't please you. Show me, God, for the purpose of putting me on the right path. Help me to get on the path to everlasting life. Help me to live a life that draws the lost to you.